Okay. We good to go?
We're good to go.
All right. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here for the SBDC Opportunities for Minority, Veteran, and Women-Owned Businesses. My name is Ashley Tate, and I'm going to be one of your presenters for today. And just want you to know that there will be time for questions at the end of the seminar, of the webinar. So please leave that in the chat section if you have one while we're going through things, and we'll be sure to answer those at the end. Next slide. So just for a little housekeeping, we're going to read a quick disclaimer. So the information provided in this webinar and any supplementary materials provided to registrants are intended for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute professional, financial, or legal advice. No registrant should act or fail to act on the basis of any material contained in this webinar without obtaining proper financial, legal, or other professional advice specific to their situation. And the Northern California Small Business Development Center and its host, the Cal Poly Humboldt Sponsored Programs Foundation, specifically disclaims any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the information presented in this webinar. And we can go to the next slide. So I am Ashley Tate, and that's who's speaking right now. And then we will be followed by Lonnie Lott and ending with Brian Ream. So these are our current presenters and consultants from the SBDC as of today. And go to the next slide. So our agenda for today is the introduction of the Small Business Development Center, what the SBDC is, the available benefits for minority, veteran, and women-owned business, targeted funding opportunities, and how the SBDC can help you. All right, we go to the next slide. All right, so a little history. The SBDC was founded in 1979 and enacted in 1980. And in 2020, we were able to celebrate 40 years of being in business. And we are also in a partnership with Congress, SBA, the private sector. And when I say that, that means that the consultants all have their own businesses outside of the SBDC, and we come and use our skills and provide those skills to you as a consultant. And then we also are in partnership with colleges, universities, and the state, local, and federal governments to bring these services to you. We can go to the next slide. So a couple of facts about the SBDC is that we are a nonprofit organization. We provide confidential, no-cost advisory and training services to small businesses and entrepreneurs. And we also provide management and technical assistance to over 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs per year. Go to the next slide. Now, here are a few facts about our specific area, Shasta-Cascade Small Business Development Center. We've given over $19 million in loans and equity investment, $8 million, over $8 million in annual sales and increases for our customers, 5,100 plus hours of advising at absolutely no cost to our customers, 4,000 plus entrepreneurs counseled and trained, 1,400 jobs created and saved, and 65 new business starts over the last 4 years. There are over 36, well, there are 36 counties in the NorCal SBDC region, and we are actually one of the largest regions in the country. And we have increased sales for our clients by over $194 million. And we've increased capital infusion, which is loans and equity investments for our clients, by over $492 million. One thing I want to say about our SBDC region is we have a ton of small businesses, and this is one of our testimonies from this. Okay, there we go. This is from Mary's Pizza Shack, and I'm just going to read this to you really quick. He says, I spoke with the SBDC advisor, Joe, many times, and he has always been available to speak to me very knowledgeable. And if I had a question he could not answer, he would find out and call me right back. I have been listening to all of the webinars, great information where people can ask questions and they answer them. And the staff was amazing and very helpful during the COVID-19 period of time. And I recommend SBDC to a lot of friends. I feel that without Joe, this would have been a more difficult time for us. And that's Mary's Pizza Shack, Kathy, and Charlotte Byerly. Okay. So the SBDC has a few ways that we support entrepreneurs, and those are through entrepreneurs and small businesses. And one of those ways are one-on-one consulting, webinars and training, as you see today, funding assistance, and we are in partnership with the SBA, so we can also answer questions that you may have working with them. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about a few things you may want to know about working with the SBDC, either in our area or where you are locally. So if we continue to our next slide. So who are our consultants? Our consultants are people who run businesses outside of the SBDC, and they use their expertise to provide to the SBDC through the SBDC to our customers like you. And this is no cost. This is at no cost to you. And you have access to over 40 additional subject matter experts throughout Northern California and in your area specifically. And I will talk about how you can find out about your area and find your local SBDC. Next slide. Okay, so these are some of our more popular webinars: how to start a business, disaster relief loan updates, QuickBooks Desktop Beginner Series, owning and investing in real estate for small businesses, and we have so many others. Next slide. So our advisors can help you with funding assistance by staying up to date on the changing loans available for your specific business. We can help you in guiding you through the filing process, business loan applications, creating an investor package, setting up crowdfunding campaigns. We have different types of consultants who work with all of these different areas. Next slide. Now I'm going to pass the baton on to Lonnie, and she's going to give you some more information on our available benefits for you.
Thank you, Ashley, and welcome everyone. We're so excited to be able to be here today and present our webinar on minority, veteran, and women-owned businesses and the opportunities that are out there for you if you fall into one of these categories. I'm going to be talking a bit about what makes supplier diversity a priority. What are some of the terms we're going to talk about that come up and pop up, because it can get a little bit confusing, some of the terms we use. And then what are the procurement preferences, private certifications, the four most popular, and then also some examples of supplier diversity programs that are offered from corporate. And then I'll hand it over to Brian, and he's going to go into what everybody's favorite topic is: loans and grants. So next slide, Emily. Okay, go ahead. So what makes supplier diversity a priority? Number one, it makes a more equitable world. And what I mean by that in the private sector world or the for-profit world is that diverse businesses typically encounter barriers that challenge their startup and sustainability efforts, such as access to capital and networking opportunities. So an effective supplier diversity strategy can help alleviate some of these pains. It just kind of helps them network with other like businesses within their type of diversity, or opportunities specifically targeted for them to give them a leg up and get started. So then across the board, it uplifts the community where underserved businesses are located through job creation, increased wages, and tax revenue. There are commercial advantages. Supplier diversity programs are also a selling point when you're hiring. 52% of respondents to a survey conducted by UPS, said that they're looking at new hires want to work for a company that has a supplier diversity and inclusion program as part of their corporate mission. An inclusive procurement strategy widens the pool of potential suppliers and promotes more competition in that supply base. As smaller businesses and minority women-owned businesses, often we're in that pool competing with some of the big national discounters or the bigger businesses that have a lot more resources. So this helps with kind of diversifying that pool of qualified businesses to pick from. And it provides more sourcing options. Inclusiveness can make supply chains more resilient and agile. And that's an increasing important advantage, especially we saw this over the pandemic, the last 2 years when the pandemic was happening. Value-added social responsibility. If there is a trend that we're watching in the marketplace is that more and more private businesses are looking for how they can have a social responsible or type of mission. So supplier diversity is often in line with the companies that are looking at sustainability and social responsibility mandates. And you will see these more and more popping up on corporate websites, how they're addressing their social responsibility. Economic value. The SBA estimates that there are 8 million minority-owned companies in the United States alone as of 2018, and I'm sure it's grown since then. The National Minority Supplier Diverse Council, which is one of the 4 private registrations that really vet and certify the minority businesses, reports that certified minority business enterprises, MBEs, generated 400 billion in economic output that led to the creation and preservation of 2.2 million jobs and 49 billion in annual revenue for local, state, and federal tax authorities. And then finally, future growth. Supplier diversity is a priority because it's estimated that 70% of the total increase in purchasing power between 2000 and 2045 will be coming from the minority populations. So it is looking at how to really capture some of that future growth, whether you're a minority business or a corporation that wants to do work with a minority business. Next slide. So these are just some of the common terms. I just picked out 4 of them because there's a lot of them. And as you go through the process of becoming certified or looking deeper into whether you're considering that, you'll see more of the types of terms. But first of all, the first one I really wanted to kind of talk about was diverse supplier. What does that really mean to be a diverse supplier? And that is a business that's at least 51% owned and operated by an individual or group that is part of a traditionally underrepresented or underserved group. And we're going to be talking about the 4 high-level ones that the private registrations do talk about. But it's typically a 51% owned and operated by an individual group that is recognized as an underserved and underrepresented group of individuals, a population. So supplier diverse certification occurs through a third-party certification agency, usually an organization that promotes the development of underserved or underrepresented small businesses. The process involves documentation, screening, interviews, and possibly on-site visits to confirm that the business is indeed diverse. So it's not just something you call yourself and then you get that certification. Like any certification in any industry, you go through a process. And there's typically a cost to it. The cost usually outweighs the rate, the ROI or the return on your investment, but it is a certification. And the application can take several weeks to be approved, but once it is, and you're certified and instantly become more attracted to supplier diversity programs that for-profit and nonprofits often offer to certified businesses. The procurement is a process of purchasing goods or services, and it's usually in reference to business spending. And then sole source purchasing is one where there's only one vendor capable of providing an item or service. And therefore it's necessary to obtain and not necessary to obtain competitive bids. So those are some of the common terms. And we can refer back to them. And as you dig in more to the next slide, Emily, we dig more into these certifications, it'll make sense to you. So this is the first program that I want to talk about. And these are for federal and government. This is through our federal and government agencies. So the one that we talk about a lot with our clients that are interested in it right away is the small business SBA 8A program. Now, all these links will take you to the sites, and you'll be getting these links back in the PowerPoint as well as within the notes. And then you can go through them and read more. We could probably spend 3 hours just talking about the programs and going deep into what it takes to get certified, how do you do it, but we just don't have time today. So we're giving you a high level bird's eye view of what's out there, and then you can look specific for your business or your interest or your area that you really want to explore when you're, after the webinar. So for small businesses interested in government contracting, the SB 8A program can help improve your chances of winning bids. To qualify, your firm must be 51% controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, which includes women, minorities, and veterans. And then once you're certified as a SBA 8A program, you can compete for set aside or sole source contracts in the program, get a business opportunity specialist to help you navigate the federal contracting process, which can, be kind of detailed, form joint ventures, and then receive management and technical assistance. So this is an area where our SBDCs across the United States can assist you through that, trying to become certified through SBA 8 program, if you are the type of business that really wants to go after federal contracting. Duns and Bradstreet, this is often what's needed when you are becoming certified, whether through the federal government or a private registration. And this is the unique 9-digit identifier for businesses. This number is assigned using Dun and Bradstreet patent process, and then you get your number, your Dun and Bradstreet number, which is then required when you're doing bids or actually applying for certification. Again, this is an area that your SBDC in your region and the advisors can often help you navigate if you have problems. And then the System for Award Management, also known as SAM.gov. This is an official website of the US government, and you need to be, there's no cost. And you can get on this site free, and in order, you must have the Duns Bradstreet number, but you need a SAM if you're going to do work with the federal government to be paid. So this is an important piece of the process. And then I wanted to talk about Vets First Verification, and this again is a federal program. It affords verified firms owned and controlled by veterans and service disabled veterans the opportunity to compete for VA set asides. And then finally, the Minority Business Development Agency, I wanted to add this. These are all the acronyms that are next to it. The NBDA is the only federal agency solely dedicated to the growth and global competitiveness of the minority business enterprises. Clients include US minority businesses owned and operated by African Americans, Asian Americans, Hasidic Jews, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and Pacific Americans. So this is really a state agency that really helps those minority businesses with accessing certification, as well as looking at loan opportunities and technical assistance. Well, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Okay, next slide. So these are the 4 private registrations that 4 different private organizations, councils or chambers, these could be nonprofits, that certify the 4 major groups of the disadvantages and underserved populations. So the first one is the National Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Chamber. And they certify the LGBT owned business enterprise certification. They help that population get certified. In order to be certified through that certification, you have to be 51% owned, operated, managed, and controlled by an LGBT person or persons. The certification gives you opportunities to enhance your business's visibility to corporations seeking to do business with the LGBT suppliers. That would be you, the business owner. Corporations can search for certified LGBT suppliers through their exclusive supplier database, as well as meet face-to-face. And then if you're certified through this certification, as a supplier, you may be eligible for scholarship programs, mentorship and leadership trainings, and other development tools. Great network for that population. Again, it's a process. You have to apply. There may be a cost, but there are folks within that chamber that will help you go through that process. The next private registration is the National Minority Supplier Development Council, and they are looking at populations that are 51% owned, managed, or controlled by a specific group. Again, a unique position to promote and market your services to corporate buyers who are looking to build relationships with NBEs. You can get access to capital access opportunities throughout the lifestyle of your partnership, contract opportunities, and customized executive education. So these are the minorities that I mentioned on the previous slide, all of those different populations. And then the next is the National Veteran Business Development Council. And they are working with businesses that are 51% ownership by a veteran. Now, this is a council. This is different than the federal agency that I mentioned on the previous slide. And your certification provides the assurance to corporate partners that the veteran suppliers that are intended to contract have gone through a rigorous vetting process. Corporate partners will be provided access to a database of certified SDs and BOBDs. So when you think about these certifications, you're probably saying, well, why do I need to go through it? Like myself, I'm a woman-owned business, have been woman-owned primarily since 2000, let's say 2000. So, you know, close to 23 years. Whew. Seems like yesterday. But I have never gone through the vetting process of becoming certified. I just call myself a woman-owned business. But if you truly want to have that competitive position, have that those opportunities that other private corporations or federal government is looking at to give you that additional type of opportunity, then you want to be looking at one of these certifications because then you get on and have access to things that other businesses, even though it may be a woman-owned business, is not necessarily going to be able to access, whether it is a loan or whether it's networking opportunities or an executive leadership training or mentoring, or even just being on a list like Amazon or Google provides. So you want to remember that. And the final one, council, is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. It is the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the United States and a leading advocate for women entrepreneurs. In order to be considered for this certification, you need to be 51% owned, controlled, operated, and managed by a woman or women. So you can have more than one. Through the certification, women-owned businesses can access to a vast network of support, including targeted business opportunities for certified women firms. This council is an approved third-party certified for the SBA's Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program, and received more than 26 billion in federal contracts. So a very powerful certification. Again, is a process and may have cost involved. It goes through the National Council, but you go on those websites and you can start the process right away or read more about what's entailed. Okay, next slide. And I promise this will be my last one before I hand it over to Brian. So why go through all this? Well, here's just the tip of the iceberg of opportunities that these supplier diversified programs are offered from corporations. The first one we wanted to talk about was one that was is the Challenge Her. And let me get back to my notes. Sorry, guys. There's so much detail. I don't want to tell it incorrectly. Is a national initiative to boost government contracting opportunities for women-owned small business with a specific focus on the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program. Again, specific for women-owned certified programs that are doing federal contracting. And it was in 2013 when it was launched, to deliver free workshops, mentoring, and direct access to government buyers. So a really very robust supplier diversity program. Google Supplier Diversity Program. I have a little video clip we're going to play in a second, but I just kind of want to run through some of these ones. And these are just 4 that I could put on my slides. And I just kind of picked down ones that were, names that were recognized, like Google. Who wouldn't want to do business with Google, right? Is designed to connect, their diversity program is designed to connect more minority, women, LGBT, disability, and veteran-owned businesses to opportunities with Google. Once registered, you'll receive, among other benefits, a listing in Google's diverse supplier database. And then if you're selected to work with them, this is the best part, Google will do their best to pay you within 15 days of invoicing. That in itself is a plus, right? Because getting paid in this cash flow is all about business survival. Disney supplier diversity by developing and leading a world-class supplier diversity process that articulates the value of a robust supplier diverse process, enables diverse suppliers to compete for sourcing opportunities through Disney, and facilitates a healthy fact-based dialogue between Disney and external interest groups. And then Costco has a diversity program. Their mission statement is to represent a diverse supplier base. They're committed to providing opportunities for qualified local minority-owned and women-owned suppliers. And they actually have, I believe, a separate listing of diversified businesses. And then Amazon connects sellers with diversified certifications to buyers, and they recognize the certifications for the previous list that we just discussed. And then there's all kinds of other companies, national, regional, and even local companies that are offering supplier diversified options. I'm seeing more and more companies that are calling themselves, corporate B, which means they have a diversity and social responsibility mission. They're really looking at lifting that. I just was looking at one in, I think it was in Crescent City. It's a brewery, and they have on their webpage all of their social diversity and environmental responsibilities listed right there on their website. And then the final thing is a link that you will just want to really check out at the end of this webinar, and when you go back to your office, to look at this great article for grants and resources as of February 2022 that US Chamber put out. Now, when Brian starts talking about loans and grants, he's going to talk about they change very quickly. So you want to kind of stay on top of it. All right. With that, I think we have a little bit of time to look at this 2-minute video. So Emily, you want to take it away?
We're here today at the NMSDC's annual procurement fair to meet small businesses as part of our supplier diversity program. Google takes literally thousands of businesses to partner with, to run all the products and all the operations that keep us going. We're here today to meet with the minority business community and meet MBEs where they are so they can help us grow.
We're really excited to be here to meet diverse-owned businesses, to help us continue to be an innovative company and supply everything that we need to grow and operate. What I want people to do when they get here is come stop by the Google booth, introduce yourself, tell us what your unique value is with your business and how you see yourself fitting within Google.
So we're doing something really exciting for the first time this year at the Opportunity Fair, which is the Tech Hub.
We have Facebook, we have Apple, NBC Universal, we have Intel and Dell all here.
What we spend a lot of time doing at the procurement fair is introducing each other's suppliers to each other, sharing those connections, and actually working together as tech organizations to make sure that we can do a better job connecting with MBEs.
We're featuring minority business owners who are creating great food and snacks and beverages, as well as cutting edge MBEs that are creating technologies.
Someday, baby, things are gonna change. So hold on tight, we're gonna make it right. So hold on tight, we're gonna make it right. So hold on tight, we're gonna make it right.
The one thing we're asking all suppliers to do is go to google.com/supplier diversity and apply to our program. It increases the chance of doing business with us. It also helps us extend some help for them on how to succeed on the web, how to get their business seen more by potential customers like Google.
Having that Google has definitely increased people's ability to believe in us. It has truly impacted our business. That will give us the confidence to know that we can go out and get the Dells of the world, get any company that we can, just because Google can trust in us.
Thank you, Emily. And with that said, I think once we get back into the slides, the next slide, I think it was Brian's turn. So thank you, everybody. And Brian, your turn.
All right, thank you, Lonnie. I'm here to talk about targeted funding. And so, we want to focus on, what grants are available. And, grants are all of our favorite type of funding because you don't have to pay those back. They're much more competitive, but the money is for you to use and you don't have to pay it back. Obviously, there are targeted loans for minorities. And then we'll also talk about some SBA funding resources. So when we talk about grants, there's a lot of grant information. So don't feel like you need to memorize or write it down. Again, we're going to give you this slide deck once we're done. But I tried to separate it between ones that are just small business focused and ones that are targeted toward minority, veteran, and woman-owned businesses. Next slide. So when we talk about ones focused on minority, vets, and women-owned, the MBDA, and I'm not going to cover all of these, I'm just going to highlight them, but the MBDA, the same agency that helps with accreditation, also really helps through the grant and loan process. And so getting an organization, and they have their own grants as well. But getting a certification agency like that helping you is useful because they're aware of what's changing, and grants are constantly changing. They pop up and they disappear. Most of them have expiration dates. Only a few of them are like annual, meaning they run continuously. So it's really important to have someone like the MBDA as an advocate helping you and alerting you. That's something that we try to do as well at our SBDC office, is be aware of what are current grants available for all small businesses. So what I want to really show through these slides is just the amount of diverse grants that are available. You can see here there's one for First Nations, Native Americans, and that one is a very sizable one. You know, every year that one they come out to really help First Nations peoples develop businesses. You have the Asian Woman Circle Giving Grant. That's specifically for artists and community activation. And then you have Amazon. Amazon has a lot of good business accelerators, and they have one specifically focused on Black-owned businesses. Next slide. Amber Grant is an example of something that's very competitive, and it happens consistently. Every month, they give away up to $30,000. And then they have 2 contests at the end of the year for $25K. This one is specifically for women-owned businesses, and they have a lot of good success stories. One recently, 2013, an Amber Grant winner went on to raise $75 million in investment. And so it is super competitive, but they also, you know, you're joining a community of women-owned businesses that have a track record of going beyond the grant and successfully raising a large amount of capital to scale their business. There's Enrich Her, which is focused on women-owned businesses as well. Fearless Striver, that's Black-owned businesses. And so you have a lot of different areas and different industries. Next slide. SoGal is focused on startups. You have the fast pitch competition, and that's just pitching for startups as well. And then Capital One has a Black-owned business grant of up to 10K. Slide. You even have grants focused on like the beauty and wellness industry. So each industry, each focus area might have a grant. And so it's important to just say, well, you know, I'm dabbling in yoga or makeup. There's no grant for me. Well, there is a beauty fund up to $10 million. And that's sponsored by some of the larger cosmetics companies looking just to help support small businesses and women-owned businesses. The Warriors Rising Grant is one specific to veterans to help them get started. And the Small Business Award for Veterans is really focused on, one, they have a veterans one from between 4 and 15, and they have a branch focused specifically on female veterans. Some of the larger group is the Small Business Grant. Now, as a minority, veteran or women-owned business, you get to double dip. You get to target the grants that are focused on minorities, women-owned, and vets. And then obviously, if you're a small business, you can apply to any small business grant as well. So I wanted to cover those as well. The best place to find federal grants is grants.gov. If it's not there, it's probably a scam. All the federal grants are listed on grants.gov, and they give over $500 billion every year. So that's a great place to check if you're looking to involve yourself in the federal area, federal workspace. SBIR and SBTTR, those are focused more on technology and innovation. Usually that's dealing with a specific federal government agency, and you're partnering in an existing project. So like for innovation, the NIH CDC one has something focused on COVID research. There's one for, disability and independent living for those businesses that are focused on helping improving the lives of those with disabilities. So there are a wide array of categories that you can apply for if you're interested in innovation in technology. Next slide. NASC is another one like the previous agency. That is an agency focused on small businesses, helping people that are self-employed in their small business. And you can see that they are, quarterly, they do 4,000, and every year they give over 1 million. Department of Commerce, if you're doing import-export, is a great one for small business grants. Amazon always traditionally has annual business grants for small businesses. And then you can see, Fresh Start, small business growth funds. They're all really focused on either starting or helping the businesses grow. If you're into trade for export, there's the STEP program. NIST is technology focused. If you're in education and you have a nonprofit, that department has a lot of grants for helping develop education for adults and children, as well as expanding into regions of underdevelopment. The EPA, if you're focused on climate change, air quality, I have a client that's focused right now on air quality. And so I was like, well, you should check out the EPA grant, $4 billion focused on that industry alone. And then Small Business Digital Ready is a great one, really helping businesses and communities mature into adopting technology. Next slide. Department of Energy and Agriculture. So really all this is showing is that regardless of the industry you want to be in, even agriculture, even energy, renewable energy, like you develop a new sustainable light bulb, or you're interested in home design about energy efficiency, there is probably a grant out there for you. So don't disqualify yourself just because of the industry you might be in. And then one of the biggest ones is the FedEx Small Business Grant Contest. That's an annual contest, and they give away a lot of awards, first place down to I think 10th place, and they are consistently diversifying who they're looking for and who they're awarding prizes to. So that's something great to look into. Again, highly competitive. Next slide. There's the Venmo Small Business Grant. They give away 20 10K grants for those of you that may be using Venmo business profile. Etsy has their own fund. If you're an Etsy member, they give several $2,500 grants away. And a company like Patagonia, they're doing grants focused on the environment. So sometimes it's a government agency like Resiliency for Ready for Resiliency that's focused on the grant, and sometimes it's private companies focused on giving grants according to their mission and their causes. Like Patagonia, they have programs very much on sustaining and protecting the environment. So again, you need to kind of do your research, look, and for your industry and your area, find that grant. Next slide. I'm not going to read these through, but just want to finish with unsolicited proposals. Sometimes you can reach out if you're interested in working with an organization, whether it's public or private. You can send them a message and say, hey, do you have any grants available? Sometimes that works. And there are always local grants for your city, your jurisdiction. Those happen on a regular basis. We're here located in the city of Reading, and they always have grants focused on small business, whether it's disaster related or growth related. Next slide. There are a lot of funding that comes in the way of loans, and there are several that are minority focused. Fundbox, These are the top 4, I think, but there are more than this. These are the 4 that we've identified that give probably the best rates to minority owned businesses, vet and women owned. Fundbox, Credibility Capital, and Blue Vine, they consistently give loans with great interest rates if you're, going that avenue for capital raise. And the NMSDC Business Consortium Fund, they also have loan set asides for minority-owned businesses. There's a Business Warrior, which is for vets, very low funding with low interest rates. And these rates are going to be considerably lower than what you might find with your average small business community bank. And then for Black-owned businesses, there's the SBDC Inclusivity Project, and their goal is to get 1,000 Black-owned businesses connected to $100 million in funding. There are other resources that you can look with the SBA. There's a Community Advantage loan, which is a great loan with the majority of that guaranteed. That's expiring this year. So you want to get on that if you're interested in taking advantage of that, as well as microloans. Maybe you don't need 50 to 100, maybe you're looking for 10 to 20. Well, that is kind of the average micro loan that you can look into. And then there are some links there with funding programs, as well as a great article that was published this year by the US Chamber. Again, grants usually have an expiration date, so it's better to kind of get on the front side and do your research now before you miss out on the window of being able to apply to that. All right, and I think that is the last of my slides. Next slide. Yeah, I'll turn it back to you, Ashley.
Okay, so now we're going to move into, Brian, that was awesome. And thank you so much, Lonnie. That was fantastic. And you guys were given so much information. You might feel a little overwhelmed by all the information that you have, but that is why the SBDC is here, so we can help you navigate all of these different loans and grants available to you. So let's see. How can the SBDC help you? We can see the next slide, please. So we can help you with registrations and certifications, applications that you may need to fill out, giving you advice and suggestions if you have any questions on any of the processes, different trainings like this. We also work with women's business centers that are specific to women in business, language translation services, and we can move into the next slide. Okay, so when we talk about registrations and certifications, this is where we help you discover what programs you actually can qualify for. We'll guide you through the entire registration process, basically walking with you through any of the pieces or opportunities that you might have available to you that might just seem overwhelming or you just want to get some assistance with. In relation to applications, we can give help and feedback on application preparation. We can give you suggestions on opportunities to pursue for your specific business. Next slide. And when we talk about PTAC or the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, if you are working with government contracts and you need help with that, through federal or state, we can help you with those types of things or assist you with what Lonnie spoke about earlier, which is the SBA 8A certification. She gave you an overview of what that is, but if you want to go a little deeper and have someone actually help walk you through that, we can assist you with that as well. And then there's also the Empowering Veteran Entrepreneurship, which is VBOC. And that is basically a program that's designed as a one-stop shop for transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses looking to start, purchase, or grow a business. And it provides business development assistance, training, counseling, mentoring, and resource referrals at no cost to our clients. So that's also something that's available to you, and it does help with military spouses. So that's something to keep in mind. The women business centers are there to support small businesses and entrepreneurs. And then they also work in partnership between the SBA and private sector entities as well. Next slide. Okay, so if we want to move into our questions and get those answered, and then I will follow up with your next steps as a potential client, or if you have any interest in the SBDC. Emily, were there any questions that we needed to answer? If you have any as a viewer, you can also leave those in the chat, like I said earlier.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any right now, but yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat.
Okay, well then I will move on to the next steps. If you want to move to the next slide, or someone has their hand
A
raised.
couple people who have their hand raised.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Do you want me
I
to
would
field the
like to know.
questions, Emily? Oh, there she goes. Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know, how could I get connected with the SBDC so I can get certifications for minority-owned women, non-for-profit business?
Yes, so at the end of this presentation, we will have the website that's up, but I believe it's America's.
I am.
Oh, there's
Okay, thank you.
Emily just put it inside of the group for you.
Thank you.
America's SBDC. Mhm.
Okay, and then someone was asking if there's assistance with purchasing a business for small businesses.
Yes, I do believe that's there, but if Lonnie or Brian, if you guys have a better answer to that question, or more in-depth answer.
Well, my dog's barking right now, so I'm going to let Brian take it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we can help if you are looking to purchase a small business as your way of becoming a small business owner. And I think it's just important to, our advisory services they're advisory services.
Yeah, I will. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
So I think it's important to note that our services are advisory only. We're not actual consultants, meaning we can't do the work for you, but we can pretty much help you navigate the questions you might have, as well as provide the training necessary and the advice that you might be looking, the questions to answer the questions you might have regarding purchasing a small business. So yeah, that's just something, anything that has to do with you starting a business, that can include acquiring a business and growing a business. And that's all things that our Small Business Development Center covers.
And I would say, to add that to that about advising, is that often we'll see our clients come in and maybe they gone to a bank and they need a business plan, or they need to put their financials together, and they don't even know where to begin. So we will then lay out a strategy for them and kind of steps and follow through. But we, like Brian said, we can't write it for you, or we can't fill out the certification for you, but we will then look at it and give you advice of where to find the information, what the certain application is actually saying and requiring of you, especially if you're looking at grants. Often some of the language may be a little different from a grant versus a loan. So we're kind of like I like how Ashley put it. I think she said once, we're like your cheerleader, we're cheering you on and helping you navigate the world of small business.
Cool. I think we're good.
Okay. So if we want to move on to your next steps. Okay. So your next steps really are to sign up with your local SBDC. And if you're in the Shasta Trinity County area, be sure to talk to Emily. She's amazing. You will love speaking with her, and she will get you directed into the right advisor and all of that. So you can set up an appointment, and every SBDC will kind of have a similar setup where you'll be speaking to someone who will find out what you need and then direct you to an advisor. And also advisors work with each other. So there is an SBDC office in your area, and I will show you how to find your local SBDC. And we do work with each other. So if you start working with one advisor, we will also recommend you to someone else if it's out of our purview or our area of scope. So next slide. Now, this is all of our contact information. And like I said, if you aren't sure which SBDC is yours, you can go to americassbdc.org/find-your-SBDC, and then that will give you a way to find where you are locally. So I think that's it for today. Thank you all so much for being here. And you can expect to receive these slides in your email. You can also sign up for our YouTube channel, and you can subscribe there to see this again and be able to replay it and rewatch it anytime. And that is it for today. So thank you guys again for being here. Have a great day.